Hello, everyone, and welcome to Common Icons, a podcast where we discuss figures of history and brainstorm what they'd be like if they were living in our society today. Earlier, I had a conversation with my friends Damien and Zach, and we discussed some very interesting people like Rasputin and John Brown. So tune in and enjoy. It should also be noted that my friends don't know the people that I'm going to discuss today. So, hey guys, welcome to the podcast. Do you mind introducing yourselves?
Hi, I'm Damien.
And I'm Zach.
All right, and what are you guys' majors? What are you studying?
I'm studying electrical engineering.
And I'm studying software engineering.
Okay, so I have two friends who are I assume, very well read in history. Is that right?
Wrong.
Yeah, I took A-Push 8 years ago.
All right. Yeah, I'm not too well read in history either, but today I picked out some figures of history that I thought were interesting. These are people that I just that I thought were interesting. People that I've read about in articles and little biographies. Let's go to our first one. His name was Diogenes. Do you guys know who this is?
I haven't heard of him.
Okay, so Damien knows who this is. Zach has no clue. All right, well, he was an ancient philosopher from Athens, Greece, and he was born...
He was a bum.
I guess he was a bum. Yeah, that is his whole thing. He was born around 402 BC. They didn't really have computers back then.
That's
so,
really old.
Yeah. And he's known for his view of society, that would... He was like one of the founders of...
We live in a society.
Yeah, society. It would later be called cynicism, his school of thought. And all of the written accounts we have from him are from somebody named Diogenes Laertius. And this guy was... he was basically like... like a gossip columnist or... paparazzi,
Like a tabloid.
Yeah, like a tabloid guy for philosophers in ancient Greece. So he's described as a Socrates gone mad, and he was born in Sinope, which is like modern day Turkey, and he lived with his dad over there until he was banished from his hometown for apparently defacing the currency.
Oh, geez.
There. Yeah. I guess that was a really big deal back then.
What does that mean? Like
Defacing a currency, what is that?
he drew a clown on a dollar? Or...
Probably.
Maybe like burned it or something?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think their currency was like rocks or something like that. Pebbles.
Flintstones type.
Yeah. Yeah, so he was banished and his father was banished too. And they were exiled, and they ended up somewhere in Greece, in Athens. And he went over to... He studied under another philosopher who he took his teachings very literally. So he was just like a really witty guy, and he had like no possessions, anything like that. He lived in an old tub, and he hung around a lot of philosophers of the day, like Alexander the Great, like
I know that
Plato.
guy.
Yeah, he was pretty great, wasn't he?
Yeah,
like
he was.
The 5th century.
Yeah, I think it was around that time.
Yeah. So he lived his life by believing that happiness is satisfied by meeting one's own needs. And his needs were very simple. I mean, he lived in a tub.
I know some people who could probably do that.
Yeah. He had good reason to do all of this. It was because he saw it fit, He thought that conventionalism and all the advanced things of the day, of that time, were really unfit, and that everyone should live, in harmony with nature. So he thought that, everything, it all lacked reason. And he wanted people to live in ways that were just natural. And
In a barrel?
I guess.
He lived in a barrel
In a
and thought,
tub.
Yeah, that was natural to him. He didn't want any possessions.
Teach their own, I guess.
Yeah. And it should also be noted that he was very witty. He was witty, but
Probably stinky too.
oh yeah. But so he hung around a lot of philosopher types, and he always like spoke truth to power or like had a comeback to something. So one example of that was so Plato was that humans were classified by being bipedal, so like standing on 2 feet,
Yeah.
and featherless.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a funny quote by him.
Yeah, what do you
And
say?
and Diogenes burst in later with a chicken that he had plucked. So it was featherless and it had 2 legs. He's like, "Behold, a man."
That's crazy.
Yeah, he's just a funny
Pretty
guy.
funny.
Yeah. So he was once criticized for drinking in a tavern, in a bar.
Where else are
and-
you supposed to do it?
I mean, exactly.
In the street.
In the street, maybe? Yeah.
I got a ticket once.
I was gonna say not these days.
Yeah, not these days. You're right.
My kid's soccer game.
All right. He said that he also had his haircut at a barber shop. So he's just like a witty guy.
They had those back then.
I guess so. All right. And so now that I've gone over this little biography of him, what do you guys think of him?
Seems like an average Joe philosopher from back in the day. Damien?
Kind of seems dumb. Like just stubborn to prove a point. Didn't really do anything except live in the barrel and.
He proved his own point of he thinks anything that you need is really up to you and you can live at your own standards, I guess.
I
Is that your own
mean,
thought? You think of that?
No, that's what he was doing.
Oh, okay.
Living in a tub, not providing much for
He
himself.
was speaking power to his truth. That's for sure.
that's for sure. Yeah, you're right. Well, yeah, I guess it could be argued that he was just like like a wisecracking old man. Like even when he was young, and he just like you said, he proved, he loved to prove people wrong or just be witty, and yeah, I guess his the way he lived really reflected that.
Yeah, sometimes it feels like they just got to prove it to themselves other than other people.
Yeah. So if he was alive today, what kind of person do you think he'd be?
A liberal.
Probably get all of his groceries from the Dollar Tree.
From the Dollar Tree?
He'd carry the groceries in one trip.
Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah, because, personally, I think he's like a very contrarian type of person, and I feel like he's the type of guy who
I'm more of a centrist.
I think he's the type of guy who would just go out and live in the woods.
I was gonna say maybe a hippie, like live off the land a little bit.
Yeah, he'd maybe start his own like commune
Would he be
or
like a
something
mean
like
hippie though? Like he'd be mean about like off grid.
Maybe just a little snark if he ever has to see other people.
Yeah. I think he would be like, he would tell people like, or he would like hold it above people how he's living. Like I'm living naturally, you're not.
I live off the land. It's all you need,
But
right?
that's kind of like how like vegan people are.
Yeah.
Sissy vegans.
Yeah. They're looking for like a better cause, like an end goal sort of thing, though.
That's what you think. I disagree.
Well, it should be said that like there's a lot of vegans that eat like fake cheese, things that are all like very conventional, like meat replacements, So I think technology has a lot to do with that, and this guy was very anti-convention. So
Yeah, he'd
it
be
could
like
be,
Unabomber type, like anti-technology and
yeah,
Tyke
that's
Kaczynski.
that's an extreme. Um, that's an extreme. I don't know if he would. This guy Diogenes never, used violence to prove his point. Uh, Not to what I'm aware of, but yeah. And do you think he'd have any like favorite foods or like favorite music, movies?
I feel like he'd be a pretty basic guy, just one of those guys that eats chicken and rice all the time and nothing
Mm,
else.
yeah, probably.
Chicken nugget type of guy.
I don't think he'd like chicken.
You know,
Eh,
no, it's a
you
human.
know, if you time travel, if you go back in time and give him a chicken nugget and an iPhone, maybe he'd change. Maybe he'd switch his viewpoint.
A bag of hot Cheetos.
I once saw this guy. He lived in an apartment on his own, and instead of paying the electric bill, he just would wear a headlamp all the time for his light. He said he didn't really need the overheads.
I saw one of those, a guy that turned his bike into a generator.
That's pretty smart.
So he just power his TV as long as he could ride his bike.
Yeah, Diogenes would be a total cheapskate.
That's
You're right.
that's what I
Yeah.
was
He's got
kind
a
of
TLC
thinking.
show.
He would.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he'd be a big star today if he was alive.
Professional bum.
Professional bum. Yeah, they'd make a show about him. All right. So the next person we're going to talk about is Muammar Gaddafi. So I had heard of him before, but I found out more about him through this Adam Curtis documentary. Do you guys know who Adam Curtis is?
Yeah.
I haven't heard of him.
Yeah, he's a documentarian who a lot of his work has to do with themes of like big societal change, and he talked about Muammar Gaddafi's life in this documentary, Hypernormalization. Have you watched it?
Yep.
Yeah, what'd you think of it?
It was pretty crazy.
What's it about?
It's about
Hypernormalization, dude.
it's about hypernormalization and how everything's
Do you not
fake
get
and
it?
how
Like-
everything's we're getting off topic. Anyways, Gaddafi was the leader of Libya from about 1969 to 2011. He was the son of a nomadic farmer. He was born in 1942, and he was a devout Muslim. And he studied at the University of Libya and graduated in 1963. He then went to the military academy in Libya and studied more, and then finally got a job there, and he rose up in the ranks. He thought the monarchy of Libya was, unjust, and he plotted a coup against them.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is crazy. So over 4 years, he kept rising in rank, and his status and his influence got bigger and bigger. And on September 1st, 1969, he did a military coup against the monarchy, and he removed all the military bases afterwards. It was successful, and he also expelled the Jewish and Italian population shortly after. He was like a socialist. He was like a Muslim socialist as well. And he wanted to nationalize all the foreign oil assets because he felt that, foreign companies like Western companies were, extracting the wealth from his own country, and he felt that was unjust. And he really wanted to unite Libya with other Arabic countries.
Good on him.
Yeah. Well, wait till you hear the next part.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
ready.
Don't jump the gun.
Don't jump the gun.
Is that what he did?
Um,
We'll see.
Well, he made the gun jump. He tried to do coups in Sudan and Egypt and other places, but they were unsuccessful. He just wanted to, expand his influence and power. He's kind of power hungry. Um, and he was, like I said before, he was an Islamic socialist. He wrote the Green Book, which was one of his defining texts.
I thought it was pronounced labia.
Um, anyways,
Keep going.
uh,
We'll cut that out.
yeah, and he wanted to, like I said, he wanted to nationalize all the country's like valuable economic assets and unite the people of Libya and of the Arab, like of the Muslim faith. And he was unpredictable. He financed groups like the Black Panthers here back in the U.S. In the 1970s,
Hoorah.
and the Nation of Islam as well, like the Black Israelites. And it should also be said that he financed the IRA in Ireland.
I like that.
Yeah, he was definitely he was an iconoclast. And he was, so with that being said, it's safe to say that he was like a proponent of political extremism and violence.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And in 1986, so his character, and his status kept rising, and the U.S. really saw him as a threat, because he was just a wild guy.
It's like what just happened, Political extremism. That guy shot the CEO.
Yeah.
Oh, the United
Luigi.
Healthcare guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard he did it with a 3D printed gun. Did you hear that?
Really?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
heard that.
What
Yeah.
a name on that kid.
Yeah, he was
No.
really educated.
Sorry,
Yeah. Okay, let's get back on track. In 1986, under Reagan, the U.S. targeted him in bombings, but he survived. So they bombed his house. I did see this in the documentary. They bombed his house and multiple other targets. He survived, but multiple of his children were killed as a result of this.
Wow, rest in peace.
Yeah.
How many kids did he have?
He had a lot of kids.
Like a bajillion.
A lot. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. And sanctions were placed upon Libya because he financed, a bunch of political violence. And he took responsibility for like an airline,
Oh, bombing.
an airline bombing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they,
They do that a lot, huh?
yeah, and Libya was pretty much exiled from the international community. And he was kind of, according to this documentary, he was built up by the West as like a real threat, to the West and like to.
Where is Libya? It's like Northeast Africa, right? It's by like Egypt.
Yeah, it's around there. Yeah, yeah. And he kept really going with the political extremism. Financing bombings, war. But it was all, to spread his message of, I guess, the good word. That's how he felt about it. And he was beloved by Libya for a long while. And in about 2000 or 2003, I believe, he was appointed the head of, I believe, the African Union, and he like rehabilitated his image around that time. And he also wrote this book around that time that was called, I believe it was called My Vision. And he was, in that book, he really just talked about, the transformative power of leadership and just his vision for the world. and he wanted this was like his comeback tour. Doing some really bad things
That PR
beforehand. Yeah, the PR run. Um, and so things were going good for him, apparently, until around 2011, when protests against Gaddafi were staged in Libya. And all the demonstrators were met with violence by the Libyan military, and they they ended up it turned into chaos for a long time.
Was
And
that like a NATO war crime then?
So NATO thought, and the UN, they thought it was a war crime. I mean, pretty obviously, it's like an attack on human rights, like killing your own citizens, because he really did not. He turned into
Like the Syria type stuff, where it's like chemical attacks on your own.
yeah, yeah, like that kind of thing. And NATO eventually stepped in, and like they kind of they helped out like the rebel forces, and they were all met with violence. There was a lot of clashes, and he refused to step down. He like did not want to step down at all. He held on to power for a long time after that, and it was very tumultuous. He claimed that the opposition was directed by Al Qaeda and that protesters were under the influence of drugs.
They were just tripping.
Yeah, they were really tripping.
Bunch of dope heads.
Say that
So
again.
it's safe
Dope
to
heads.
say that as his influence waned, he completely lost it. So he urged his supporters, to defend him and his name and who he was by fighting the protesters, which,
That's awesome.
yeah, it's one thing. It's
Starting to
Wait,
go
is he
starting to
like-
go overboard.
He's the one that would give him guns, right? And they like his own people. He killed his own
yeah.
his own council or whatever.
They
They're
did that?
traded on, or is that
I
that might be Saddam?
don't think that was him.
Oh,
Yeah.
Some bad stuff either way.
yeah.
Yeah. So he was again targeted in a missile attack by NATO and U.S. forces on April 30th, 2011. He escaped again. I mean, but multiple more of his children were killed in that attack.
Jeez, that's
And
rough.
yeah, he just can't keep getting away with it. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, depending on who
I was
you
gonna
are.
say depending on who
Wait.
you are.
Yeah.
From 2000. So, since the 70s.
Yeah, from 70, I believe it was, let's see, I think it was 1970 or 1969
So
to
41
2011.
years,
Jeez,
Yeah.
He ran his route.
He basically, well, yeah, he was a
How
dictator.
old is he?
I'm not sure what age he died at. I think it was about like 73, I
Damn.
believe, or 69. He was killed by rebel forces on October 20th. And it should be said that they were funded by the West and NATO.
Oh.
So yeah, he was basically killed by the West, but I mean, it is it's like what can you do? He was
Yeah.
like a crazy dictator. Yeah,
He
So-
isn't the only one.
not the only crazy dictator out there. Yeah.
Do you want to just hop into the next one?
Well,
Yeah.
what would he be like today?
Oh, yeah. Who would he be today?
Yeah. What kind of guy do you think this would be if he was living in America today?
In America?
In America.
What kind of campaign do you think he'd run if he was going for office?
I wonder.
Pretty brutal.
Pretty brutal. You think he'd be like Bernie Sanders? That guy's
old.
pretty brutal.
That guy's soft and old.
That bag of pudge, that old dude. Come on. No power.
Well, this guy
He's
was
not even
this
like
guy
a man.
this
He's
guy
old.
was this guy was pretty old too.
Yeah, but he had the.
Yeah.
He thought right. He
Dude.
Towards the end.
Bernie Sanders has been a senator for since the dinosaurs were here. So
Bernie
he's
Bernie Sanders.
yeah, he's held on to power for a long time.
Yeah, that's true.
How much power does a senator have, though? I'm thinking he's running for president.
Was Bernie New Hampshire?
No, Vermont.
Vermont?
Yeah.
What do they have? One electoral college vote?
There.
That doesn't even
on.
that doesn't
Come
even
on.
count as power.
Yeah, he's like his Bernie's viewpoints are, hey, let's make the library free.
And some classes too while we're at it.
Yeah, like that's so
Yeah.
dumb.
I'm thinking Gaddafi would go for president for sure.
He
And then
would.
make like a big change in the US.
Like Trump.
Like Trump.
Yeah,
Like Donald.
like Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah, Donald Trump.
Kofefi.
Yeah, I guess some parallels could really be.
Do you think he'd be like super conservative?
This guy.
Conservative in the sense that he was like a Muslim. You know, they're pretty
Yeah,
conservative.
I feel like he would be socially extremely conservative, but I'd say economically liberal.
Socially conservative, economically liberal.
Beyond liberal. Like, I mean, he was
Well,
a
he's
socialist
socialist,
after
yeah.
all. Yeah.
Fighting for change is for sure. He's never
Yeah.
never likes the state of the world, it looks like.
Yeah. All right. And he did. It is. It should be said that he did finance groups like the Black Panthers and Nation of Islam.
But so does the CIA.
I mean, not really.
Do we know that for sure?
The CIA was like, they financed a lot of things that were, or they funded a lot of things.
Coos, like him.
Yeah, well, yeah, but it's like this guy is in the system that's against the West.
Yeah.
When that was a thing. I mean, now all we have is Disneyland and McDonald's, bro.
McDonald's, Walmart.
I was going to say the Walmart.
Disneyland, Amazon.
You ever go to McDonald's inside of Walmart?
Ooh.
No, I saw a Domino's inside of a Walmart though.
How'd that make you feel?
Like
I actually got excited when I saw the Auntie Anne's pretzels inside Walmart.
I really liked the Subways. They smelled better inside the Walmart that way.
The bread.
The bread,
'cause,
yeah.
it's a smaller place.
Imagine
Bread.
I don't know.
pretzels inside Walmart. Though.
Pretzels.
They have pretzels like in the frozen aisle.
Yeah, but these ones are fresh.
And they smell good.
Made by, what's her name? Auntie Anne?
Okay, next topic.
No, I want to talk. All right, next up, we have Yukio Mishima. Do you know anything about Mishima?
I do not.
I got none.
Nothing? Okay, so he isn't a character from Tekken, even though a character from Tekken was inspired by Mishima. So he was a Japanese author, born in 1925. He is one of the most important, if not the most important, Japanese author from the 20th century. And he is well known for his books, but he's also well known for attempting a coup, just like Gaddafi.
Couldn't get it done though, huh?
He couldn't get it done, no. He committed a coup against the Japanese government in, I believe it was 1963 or 1968. Which the coup failed, and it eventually led to his suicide by seppuku, which
I'd
is
do it too.
What is seppuku?
seppuku is a traditional ritual suicide where the person stabs himself with a sword and
What?
and they disembowel themselves. It's a little grim.
That's kind of boss way to go out.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'd rather die by my own blade than another man's,
yeah.
I'm not letting no one else kill me. I'm killing myself.
I'll give you that.
I think you need some help.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
Anyways.
Amen.
Anyways, the paramilitary group that he led What's called
Para
the
what?
paramilitary. So um, like a military group that is not affiliated with the government, sort of anti-government, like
Oh,
opposition. It was called the Tate no Kai, and his final actions could be seen as a protest against modern Japan, or maybe he just felt like he was getting old and he just wanted to get it over with. But yeah, as a child he was sickly and weak, and he was looked after by his grandma, um, who he felt was oppressive and held him prisoner. Um, and it should be said that it's hard to get a good grip on who he was in reality, because he treated life like a performance. Um, and I'd say that his public image really shows that, because he was in the 50s. He loved being an author and messing with the press, and he was a movie star for a little while. And then in the 60s he really switched up his image and really got into bodybuilding, and you know
Wait, is this the guy you have the shirt of?
yeah, he called me out. Yeah, I am a personal.
what is this shirt? I haven't seen it.
Oh, so the shirt has a picture of him with a samurai sword, um, and the back is him, or he was photographed in the same way the saint was, and it was
That's hard.
yeah, it was cool. I think so. A quote from him is that, true beauty lives, and then finally it gets robbed and destroyed.
Interesting.
Yeah. Um, and he really wanted Japan to return to its traditional, feudal values after World War II ended.
Talk about a trad guy.
Yeah, he was very traditional. Um, and he was anti-democracy. So some of his most popular works were Confessions of a Mask, Spring Snow, and the Sea of Fertility tetralogy, and the Temple of the Golden Pavilion. Um, and it should also be said that the Sea of Fertility, the last book in that series, was he sent the manuscript to his publisher the exact same day that he attempted the coup and committed suicide. So that
Wow.
was
So was it released after he died, posthumous?
yeah, it was posthumous. Yeah.
Talk about sending a message.
Yeah.
He really meant it.
Mhm. Yeah, so a lot of his novels had romantic themes. He was a very uh sensual writer. He was, I don't know. It's
Seemed
a
like a
little.
bit of a softie on the
And you
inside.
like this
Yeah.
guy? You like this guy?
Yeah.
That's
I think
crazy.
it's good to be in touch with yourself.
He needs to be a man.
Well, the thing is that
Well,
he became sick of being weak.
that's beautiful. I get that. Yeah.
Yeah, and he transformed himself, and he led a military group, which
That's pretty manly. Yeah.
it's pretty
I
manly.
get that.
If you have a whole army of dudes behind you, um, you know,
Sounds kind
who
of
can
like
say no to you?
he
Maybe
sounds
the Japanese
Sigma.
government.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, and also, people say that his death was supposed to be a performance. Like, death is art.
Some do say that, huh?
Yeah. So, what kind of guy do you think this would be, in the modern day, out here?
I feel like honestly he'd be like an extremist a little. Someone that do something crazy and then they get news coverage and then they have a manifesto and
I agree.
not that he'd be like an incel or anything, but that'd be like a what was the The kid. My sunglasses.
So, oh,
I don't remember that guy.
Like an Elliot Rodger.
I
This,
don't
this is
really
more,
think so.
This is more beautiful though.
Yeah, yeah. Elliot Rodger was just like a very
That's just a
troubled.
hateful.
Yeah,
This
he's
guy's also
hateful and
this
troubled.
guy's also Japanese. That's so cool.
That is pretty cool. I love Japan.
Yeah, Japan is pretty awesome.
That's like JDM.
They call me a Japanophile, but
Who?
they
They do.
do.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think there are a lot of parallels to be drawn with him and other extremists like Ted Kaczynski, because he wrote an essay that was called Sun and Steel. It was about, how he transformed his body, and he, had a rigid exercise
It's
routine.
like Taxi Driver.
Yeah, I think it could, be like a Travis Bickle situation, or, Ted Kaczynski, or the list goes on and on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he would be like he would be a basement dweller if it was a modern day, cuz
4chan,
yeah, something like that.
8chan,
12chan maybe.
16chan.
We could go
Something deep online where only the worst of the worst are reading it, huh?
32chan.
64chan. Anyways.
124, 128.
All right, we get it.
Yeah. So I think he'd be an extremist. What kind of movies do you think he'd like?
He'd
You said
like
Taxi
Taxi
Driver.
Driver,
That
yeah.
would be like his Bible. What else do you think?
He might like a Fight Club,
Yeah, he's
but he'd also like some
What's the guy with the cow?
Buffalo 66.
What's the guy with the cow gun?
maybe.
Like a Paris, Texas.
I don't know about Paris,
Drugstore
Texas.
cowboy.
What's
type
the cow?
deal.
What's the cow gun guy? What's the
Oh,
mo-
yeah,
What's
no-
Oh,
the
No
mo-
Country for Old Men. He'd definitely take
Yeah.
the wrong message from that. Yeah.
You think the main character's like so cool?
Well, he kind of is.
Maybe like
but
American
you're not-
Psycho.
Oh,
he would
yeah.
be. He
The
would be.
homoerotic
Yeah.
and-
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of his themes were like homoerotic.
Whoa.
He was a little freaky.
Hey yo.
Yeah, he liked to get freaky with it. Anyways, yeah. What do you think his favorite food would be? Raw meat,
Sushi.
sushi. I mean,
Ramen.
Yeah, it's
sushi or ramen. Yeah.
something. Not like. Okay.
All right, cool it. Okay.
Poke maybe.
That's Hawaiian.
It's just a sushi roll unwrapped in a bowl.
Yeah, I guess.
Do the sushi roll. Or what if he's like really American though? What if he's a really American Asian? Like rockabilly, likes burgers, hot dogs,
Yeah, that could.
and men.
And American Men, yeah. You could. Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. All right. All right, so our next one is going to be. The next person we're talking about is Rasputin. Do you guys know anything about Rasputin?
I know the song.
I was gonna say
It's
I
like
do know that song.
Yeah. How does it go again?
Rasputin.
Rasputin.
Rah rah Rasputin.
Lover of the Russian
The
Queen.
Russian Queen,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that an ABBA song?
I want to say it's ABBA. I don't know.
I
I'm
don't
not
know.
100% on it. All right. Yeah, he was born in 1869, and he was a Russian peasant who, he's Russian and Siberian, I believe. He was thought to be a mystic. So his last name means debauched one in Russian. So he was like a very,
Bad plastic surgery.
not botched, debauched. So like debauchery, like, like
Yeah.
yeah, like that kind of stuff. Okay. He had a religious breakthrough at 18, and he was he went he was introduced to some monks, and he was a fail monk, pretty much. He
He
uh,
flunked.
he flunked out of monk school.
I'd flunk out too.
Yeah, he was more into earthly pleasures.
Just like yeah, that's what I flunk out for too.
We know. Um, he left the monastery after some time. After learning the ways, and he went back to Russia and had 4 children with his wife. And then one day he walked out on them and he became a wanderer. So he wandered out to Greece and Jerusalem, other places like that. He became a traveler for some time, and he gained a reputation of like a shaman or a healer. He was a very mystic guy. He
Wish
had
I could do
crazy
that
eyes.
some of these days.
Huh?
Wish I could do that these days.
Yeah, these days you need to have an ID.
They
They didn't even have
get a
IDs.
job.
You gotta live by the man.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
I
I'm
mean-
not giving you $1. Like, some of you roam.
You gotta do taxes and stuff. That stuff sucks.
Yeah, do you think they had taxes back in
Yeah.
1800s?
In the 1800s, I think
Yeah, I
they
know.
fought over taxes a lot.
Yeah. I don't. Did they? Yeah, he had 4 children, and he led the life of a holy man, even though he walked out on his children and his wife. He had special healing abilities. That's what people say.
Is he like Russian Jesus?
I'll believe
Um,
the healing when I see it.
I'll show you.
He was like he was like a prophetic kind of guy, yeah. And he wandered out to Greece after, and then he eventually came back to Russia after a few years. He caught the attention of some Russian royalty after practicing his healing and just being a interesting dude out there. He got close with the Tsar at that time, Nicholas II, and his wife Alexandria. The reason why they sought him out was because their son Alexis was sick, and on the verge of death, and Rasputin did his magic, and the boy was no longer ill. He was fine. And this really wowed, the royalty of the time, because they thought they were really into like the occult and mysticism and pseudoscience like that. He gained influence over time, with the royalty, and the critics of Russia thought he was crazy and a monk gone mad. And they definitely discredited the royalty by saying, that, hey, you have this crazy dude around. Why can we trust you? Everybody else, a lot of people in Russia did not like him. And he died in 1916. This is kind of a crazy story. So he was invited to a dinner by the Tsar's cousin, Dmitry Pavlovich, and him and another person laced his food and wine with some cyanide, and Rasputin only got drunk. He only got a little bit drunk. He didn't really feel the poison, and this angered them. So they shot him 3 times, and
Talk about a holy man.
Swiss cheese.
yeah. They rolled him up in a rug and threw him in the river.
They switched him.
Up the switch.
Yeah. So, he died, but he left a statement he had written earlier. He was illiterate, but I think he had told someone that if royals killed him, tragedy would strike the entire family that killed him. And that ended up coming true just over a year later, which was the Russian Revolution that happened just over a year later. And the Tsar, Nicholas II, his wife, Alexandria, and all their children were murdered by revolutionaries.
Everyone?
All of them, yeah.
Talk about a squad wipe.
You could say that again.
All right, guys. So, who do you think this would be
I
in the
fe-
modern day?
This one I feel like would be some like Southern Baptist mega church leader. But it's like he does something bad one day and then he goes around and no, he healed me. He healed me.
Like the big, the ones you see on TV.
Like the one that's like, God, let me buy this plane.
Yeah.
Snake eyes.
Yeah.
And he just used all the people's money they donated to help people.
Them tithing, yeah.
Yeah. I think Rasputin was definitely a schemer.
Schemer and a scammer?
Schemer and a scammer, yeah.
Scammer gets
Ooh.
scammed.
Do you think he'd have like a religious prayer, like a prayer circle you gotta pay to get in, and he'll pray for you and do a miracle on you, and then he'll take your money and go?
I think so, because I don't think he did any of this for free. You know, he lived off his donations.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd get pretty savvy with it. I thought he'd be like a kind of a cult leader, like
Like Charles
maybe
Manson?
yeah, like Charles Manson too. Electric
Keeping them
Boogaloo.
warm.
I'd see that.
Yeah, or maybe Jim Jones in Jonestown, but that's a little. He went a little off the rails with it. I'd say he had more influence.
Would you say more Heaven's Gate? Like, wow.
Well,
Guys,
I don't know. He didn't. His ulterior motives weren't to like. It was just for himself, like, to get more power and influence.
Yeah.
Um.
Who?
Yeah. I
Oh,
think
okay.
he'd be like what is that guy? Like a health guru. You know, he'd be like a health guru. Like, what's his name?
Liver
Oh.
King?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think he'd be an
Like
influencer.
you're thinking of the YouTuber guy, huh?
He was an actor. What was his name? What was?
Mikado Avocado?
No, not Nikocado.
That guy's 2 steps ahead.
Yeah.
What's his name? He has a beard. Russell Brand.
Oh,
Russell Brand.
yeah.
Yeah, because he made a huge pivot
A
to like
180.
spirituality, and everything like that.
The anti-vax of it all.
Yeah, I think he'd be into those like fringe, circles.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he would also sell probably like those dried food things.
Like a prep meal thing?
Mm-hmm.
The Mormon
Like
meals?
like the end times kind of thing.
Oh yeah, the ones that never go bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Like the moon meals, huh? That's what the like the dehydrated food.
Yeah, dehydrated food. Yeah.
Would you eat one of those?
I'm hungry.
I'm hungry. Would you eat one of those?
If it was the only thing in my pantry, yeah.
It's gonna be the...
I'm hungry.
Yeah.
Are you?
Mmm.
Could go for a dehydrated meal.
Imagine some rehydrated cream of corn.
That doesn't. How would that work?
I don't know. I'm hungry.
Hi, hungry. I'm Damien.
Mash up the place.
Our last one is John Brown. Do you guys know anything about John Brown?
Can't say I do.
John Jones?
Not John Jones.
Oh, okay.
But he was a fighter, just like John
Hey.
Jones. He was born in a religious household, and he had a lot of kids. And he was very poor. And he was an abolitionist. He believed that, slavery was like really wrong. And he worked, with the Underground Railroad. And he believed in violence as, the way to solve the issue of slavery in America.
Oh, I know what this... Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
you know this guy. Yeah, Harper's
Yeah.
Ferry and everything. Yeah, He led the Harper's Ferry raid in I believe 1859. And yeah, he was like a big time abolitionist. So, who do you think he would be like in this day and age?
Man, trying to think.
Um,
A real fighter for change. For
Yeah.
what's good.
yeah, I don't know. Probably like a big social justice person.
What do they call? Oh, what's that one girl? The one fighting climate change.
Greta
Greta
Thunberg.
Thunberg. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, she I don't know, I haven't heard anything from her in a while. Maybe she's planning something.
Yeah.
Like something cool.
You said he likes like violence to help like get over like tough things in life right now. Like
Yeah.
he got helped with slavery, right?
Yeah, he helped.
Yeah, that's what the guy killed the CEO for. He believed in violence. He wrote a whole
He
manifesto about it.
He did. It was
It was dark.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
Maybe like Rachel Dolezal.
I
Like someone standing up
I-
for something real,
I-
you know?
I can see that, but yeah, Rachel Dolezal she's I don't know, she's interesting. She's interesting. I don't know if
You don't think? No.
I don't think they really relate.
Okay.
Yeah. I think this guy is the kind of guy to there yeah, I guess there's some parallels to be drawn between him and
Maybe Malcolm X.
yeah, I'd say Malcolm X was a little less peaceful than
Or Martin
Then,
Luther King.
well, Martin Luther King, he believed in like nonviolence.
Mm.
So,
Oh, like the walks. They did
yeah,
walks.
the marches.
That's true.
Yeah. Let's see. Do you think he'd be on TikTok?
I think he would be very, very active on social media.
Yeah, I mean you got to use what you can to get your voice heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like all these people would probably be pretty big on social media.
Oh yeah, except for the first guy, the tub
He
guy.
wouldn't even have a. He wouldn't, have a phone. Yeah,
He wouldn't
wouldn't have a phone or
he don't have
nothing.
internet.
He'd be wearing that tinfoil hat.
Yeah, he's probably that guy's probably an Area 51 guy, and
Yeah.
an X-Files guy. Isn't that the alien thing?
Yeah. I don't know if he'd be too big into aliens because
He wouldn't.
he's
He'd be
pretty
like,
weird
"We're
himself. Yeah.
Let it happen. I think he'd say.
Let it be. And the famous words of
The Beatles.
John Lennon. Let it be.
Let it be. All right. So in closing, did you guys learn anything new today?
I didn't know anything about any of these people, so I knew
Well,
bits and pieces. I knew
Yeah.
Diogenes enough. I didn't really know a lot about the others, but I've heard of them.
Yeah, I knew of some of the occasions that happened, but I didn't really know of the people behind them.
I don't really know their story, but
Yeah.
Yeah, but here we are.
very interesting. And I could definitely see a parallel between these people and some of the
Activists we have today.
activists. I was gonna say weirdos we see in
Yeah,
society.
You know,
Yeah.
The fringe people.
Yeah,
on the edge. Yeah.
I kind of wanted to discuss some some interesting people for this first episode, because they're just ones that really catch your eye.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, anything you got to say?
Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for listening. This was the Common Icons podcast, and we'll catch you next episode.